Hey, my name is Jonathan Wainscott. I'm running for mayor, Asheville. Went by city council last night to see what was going on, and there was a big conversation, if you will, about gravel lot parking downtown. Undeveloped lots that are not currently up to the codes standards for regular parking lots. So really non-controversial issue. City council was certainly going to pass it because there's a parking crisis downtown, as you can see from the proceedings. I edited it a little bit just to get some better flow in there, get some redundancies out. It's not edited to slant what was happening. Everybody who spoke is shown in the full context, and the content of the response of city council is there as well. Anyway, you know, it's not so much that everybody was there advocating fiercely for the gravel lots. Everybody certainly wanted that. But what you'll see is that there's a growing frustration about the lack of parking and how that has been just sort of punted around for the last 10 years or so. And that we really haven't kept up with accommodating this huge influx of people that we know are coming, because of course we pay to make that happen with the absolutely inflexible hotel tax that we have here. Anyway, you hear people will refer to it as a parking crisis. It affects housing as well. It's a lack of leadership, and you know, then at the end you'll see how much City Council responds to the concerns of the people who came there that night. So hope you enjoy that. It's about 20-something minutes long, and you can see the entire City Council proceedings on their Asheville City Council YouTube page. All right, thanks a lot. Vote for Wainscott for mayor. Last on the ballot, first on your vote, or whatever it is that worked so well for Gwen Whistler last time. All right, thanks a lot.
Moving along, item B under the public hearings agenda is a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances to establish provisions for temporary gravel lots in the Central Business District.
This wording amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance seeks to do two things. The first thing is to move the temporary parking lot standards from Article 16 to Article 14, where it is a use by right, to our temporary uses section, which is in Article 14. It also proposes to add standards that would allow temporary gravel parking lots in our Central Business District. Gravel today is not permitted in the Central Business District, and the reason for this is rooted primarily in the need for tighter site control that addresses a heightened need for a walkable, accessible, pedestrian-friendly environment, and for environmental and safety concerns where loose gravel can wash off the site into the road and then eventually down into the storm system. If approved, the amendment would only apply to properties that are less than 5% in grade, and would allow unimproved gravel lots to be permitted for 1 year with the option to renew for a second year. The lots would also require a driveway apron and other measures to keep the gravel on site, and some minor landscaping that would help break up large surface lots. Of course, these lots could continue to be used for construction, parking, and staging when associated with an active development project, which is what the existing temporary parking lot standards are primarily designed for. This proposal is intended to be part of a larger, more comprehensive parking solution for the downtown. It's also intended to be temporary in nature, hopefully with the hope to keep it from conflicting with other goals that would seek to discourage surface parking in general. It was also recognized that a temporary solution may help with enforcement of the illegally established gravel lots in the Central Business District by providing an interim step towards compliance. This amendment has been reviewed by both the Downtown Commission, where it was approved 6-0, and by the Planning and Zoning Commission, where it was supported 5-2. In both reviews, it was discussed and generally acknowledged that this amendment does not fully address the parking concerns, and that it may be in conflict with other goals and could potentially introduce an enforcement challenge. However, it is a temporary measure And it was felt that the benefits generally outweighed the detriments. So it was supported by both of those advisory bodies. That essentially concludes my introduction. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions, or if you prefer to open for public comment.
Anyone? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing on this item. Is there anyone wishing to comment on public hearing item B regarding temporary gravel lots? Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Whalen, and I'm here actually wearing two hats. I'm one of the managers at the Orange Peel downtown, and I live downtown, right down the street from there. I can't overstate the difficulties that lack of parking has, both from a business standpoint for me and for as a resident. As you know, we do shows frequently at the Orange Peel, and one of the problems that our customers have coming to the shows is finding parking near the Orange Peel. Causes them to be late, causes them to park in places they're not supposed to park. And also, we do have a small grandfathered in lot on the corner of Lexington and Hilliard, and we are constantly dealing with people, although we have 6 signs, do not park, subject to towing, constantly, almost nightly, dealing with people who ignore the signs and still park in the lot just out of frustration and inability to find a place to park in the area. We also, this is where our employees park, so that they can get to the show on time, get to work on time. We can get out when we need to, and again, it's a constant problem with having people illegally parking in our lot. And as a resident of downtown, I have friends who don't live downtown, and I'm constantly hearing from them that they don't wish to drive downtown. They don't wish to try to drive and try to find a place to park. And it's a constant problem. I have parking behind where I live on Biltmore, and frequently I'll go to park in our assigned parking lot and again find people who have decided to illegally park there because there's no other option. And they ignore the signs that say no parking and park in that lot. So I'm strongly in favor of this as a temporary solution or a partial solution to the problem, and also urge that a more permanent, long-term solution with additional parking in the downtown area be considered by the City Council. Thank you.
My name's Carmen Cabrera.
Thank you.
I work with Mass General Store, and I'm lucky to work for a company that does provide or tries to provide parking for all of the staff. We're up to probably 50 employees now, and Mass does an incredible job of benefits for our staff in an employee-owned company. If the staff cannot get to work, we can't fill the needs that we have for the business, and I believe we provide a good store and a good entertainment for visitors that come to our town. But staff parking has become almost impossible. I have pieced together different places, all within like 3/4 of a mile. That's 5 people are parking in one lot, 6 people are parking in another lot. There's a few more in another lot, and then I have to release them in the timely fashion that they can get to their spaces together, so nobody wants to walk alone at night. We had a young lady apply for a job and come in for an interview, and she had to pay, it was during an event, she had to pay $13 to park in order to come in and have an interview for a job that she's just trying to find employment. And then her first question was, do you provide parking? Because she couldn't work with us if we didn't. A temporary solution, yes, is very commendable. And then please plan for the next time out of what we can do for the city to help bring the servers and bring the retail staff to be able to come to work.
Hello, I'm Adam Tome, and my wife Emily and I own and operate 67 Biltmore, downtown eatery and catering. So we've been on that block for nearly 2 decades, and we have watched the city change quite a bit over the years. When you look at all of these small independent businesses and all of the companies that they work with and support, we're responsible for a great deal of revenue and a great deal of jobs here in Asheville. Being a small business owner is tough. It takes a lot of courage, hard work. There's a lot of ups and downs. The margins, particularly in our industry, are very slim. and the cost of doing business, especially downtown, continues to rise. I run into people at the store, at school, at soccer, and so I haven't seen you in a while. And it's always, I can't deal with downtown anymore. I just don't go downtown. We can't have customers that don't, especially locals, that don't want to come into the downtown sector to support the local businesses because they can't deal with parking. And as far as the employees go, you've probably heard that a lot of businesses, particularly food industry, food and beverage, is having a hard time staffing their businesses right now. And that's only going to be made more difficult when existing employees can't find safe, affordable parking, much less new employees. Some of ours walk or ride a bike. Emily and I ride the bus a couple times a week on average. But due to the rising housing costs in the city, many of our employees live outside of public transportation routes. These gravel lots will help. I support this. It's a short-term fix.
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Gabedas, and I'm the founder and owner of two businesses in downtown Asheville, Malaprop's Bookstore Cafe and Downtown Books and News. We've been in business for 35 years and 29 years consecutively. We have a lot of customers who tell me in the grocery store, well, I tried to come to your store, but I circled around, couldn't find the parking space. And unless you come downtown before 8 a.m., you won't have a parking space on anywhere near my stores, period. The parking situation is dire for small businesses that are downtown. I've been watching this for many years, and I haven't seen a great improvement from the city in making sure that the unique flavor of Asheville is protected by you all. We have a cultural center. People come here from all over the world to see that is different here. So I urge you to pay attention to the little people that pay the taxes and employ the people and create the city that you are governing. And don't forget us.
I'm very glad that there are so many people here to talk about this issue, but I'll let you know I don't sense that it's terribly controversial.
Okay.
Okay. If that helps at all.
Well, and part of it is, I think that people feel like they haven't been heard.
That is what the function of this process is.
So my name is Karen Ramshaw. I've been a resident of Asheville since 1967, and I work for public interest projects. And downtown Asheville has a parking crisis. We do not have a parking problem. We have a parking crisis. The city had a parking study done in February of this year, and they looked at 58 cities and towns. So we extracted the data for the cities that seem more equivalent and relevant to our situation. So each of the cars in the graph on the left represent 1,000 vehicles. And then on the right, those are each car is 1,000 parking spaces. So as you can see, Asheville is quite popular with more visitors than Greenville, Spartanburg, or Charleston, but our city provides far fewer spaces. Charleston provides almost 9,000, Greenville has 6,226, Spartanburg is ready for growth with 3,559, and Asheville has 2,299. So in Charleston, Greenville, and Spartanburg, there are about 2 vehicles competing for each city-provided space, and in Asheville, it's almost 8. Now, I recognize the city doesn't provide all the parking for a community, not in Asheville, and not in any of the other cities listed here. Many large businesses and organizations provide parking for their own users, but cities do provide parking for visitors, employees of the small local downtown businesses, and for downtown residents, recognizing the very different character and needs of an urban center and the economic benefits of concentrating parking with multiple users. Asheville's leadership built parking decks when downtown was empty, knowing we needed the infrastructure for growth. Greenville did the same thing, but has continued to invest. So parking is readily available, and they can afford to eliminate some street parking to provide wider sidewalks and more plantings and street trees. Now, this isn't a new problem. Year after year, the Downtown Commission and the Asheville Downtown Association list the lack of parking, particularly affordable monthly parking, as a top concern. Now, I know we're waiting for another 2017 parking study, so I revisited the 2008 parking study, which found a large deficit. At the time of the study, the city of Asheville planned to add 1,817 parking spaces, understanding that there would still be times of the day where there would be a 500 to 600 space shortfall. By my count, the city added about 400 spaces, mostly in the Biltmore garage, woefully short of projections that didn't envision the explosive growth of the South Slope and the loss of other surface lots to development. According to the 2008 study, the city was leasing 95 to 100% of its monthly spaces in 2008. So obviously there's a demand. Today there are waiting lists for the parking garages that are years, that's plural years, long. And there are a handful, I believe less than 5, that are monthly street permit spaces available in the Central Business District. And those aren't always open when the permit holders come to work. The 2008 plan stated there were plans to evaluate adding levels to Rankin and evaluate the possibility of a new parking lot on Rankin across from the Civic Center. Nothing. The 2008 plan recommended satellite park and ride transit systems with a dedicated shuttle route for downtown employees. Nope. The 2008 plan advised the city to look for opportunities to acquire land for additional future parking, stating, the city should take every opportunity to acquire necessary real estate before costs escalate. Not only has no property been purchased, but in an early meeting this year, we were looking at a map and I asked staff to point out the properties that had been identified by the city as suitable for parking structures. None. There's a popular narrative in this community right now that parking is for tourists, so we shouldn't care about it. But lack of parking hurts locals. Many of our neighbors work downtown, but parking is unavailable and or unaffordable, and the simple act of getting to work is stressful. Many downtown jobs are not 9 to 5, and the cost of housing drives folks to the further reaches of the county. So transit isn't a realistic option for many downtown employees, particularly employees of small businesses. Tourists will circle 20 minutes or pay whatever to park, but locals will not. And locals are feeling shut out of their downtown. Many proudly declare, we never come downtown. I mean, we've all heard it. So our kids aren't playing in Splashville and running around Roger McGuire Green, and we're not running into friends and neighbors on the sidewalks as we listen to local musicians or hang out at the drum circle or wander through the new shows at the galleries before heading off for dinner or coffee or chocolate or a beer. You know, all the things that people travel here to experience. And that's a shame. But you can't really blame locals. I came downtown over Labor Day. When the Laugh Festival was downtown, the city was charging $9 to park at the Civic Center. $9 for our all local, somewhat local, all original, free street festival. And it's not the fault of parking services. When you don't have adequate parking, your primary management tool is to price people out of the market. You know, they really don't have a choice. And some people are saying that parking should be the responsibility of developers. So, hello, Aspen. And you might as well roll out the carpet for the chain stores, because the lack of public parking means a lack of housing diversity downtown. Building dedicated parking is expensive, particularly on smaller parcels, and this dictates high-end luxury or short-term rentals. If the parking situation requires developers to include structured parking, the city is effectively dictating no affordable or no workforce housing downtown. And what's the point of pushing developers to provide more affordable housing downtown if monthly parking is unavailable or $125 a month? So private structured parking also requires higher commercial rents, threatening local businesses, while the general lack of public parking threatens their ability to do business. I mean, we've all gnashed our teeth about chain stores coming downtown, and we're pushing building owners to offer lower rents to small local businesses. But what's the point if they're forced to leave because their employees can't get to work and their local customers can't afford or find parking? So why should the city provide parking? Well, I mean, private developers don't benefit from the increased value and growth that surrounds a parking deck, but cities do. We did a study back when we were looking at the 51 Biltmore Garage project, and we looked at property values and city property taxes around the Civic Center, Rankin, and Wall Street parking garages in the 3 decades after they were built, and saw private investment and property tax increases that were 2 to 3 times higher than the rest of downtown. So not only does the city get paid back through parking fees, and the newest Biltmore project behind the Alop is far exceeding income projections, but the city also benefits from the value of surrounding properties, particularly when surface lots can be converted to higher and better use. We can just look at the public-private partnership at 51 Biltmore. There were 2 properties at the location. There was a surface lot with 99 parking spaces that paid less than $10,000 a year in property taxes, and there was the Hot Dog King, which probably didn't pay any more. Today, those parcels contain the Biltmore Garage, which added much-needed parking to the area and is generating an income stream that surpasses expectations. Will soon, I hope, have 32 additional housing units, many which meet workforce housing guidelines, and the Aloft Hotel, which alone is paying over $360,000 in property taxes. And ask the nearby businesses what's happened to sales now their customers can actually get to the shops. Parking garages are good investments. The city makes money. And larger garages with shared parking and less dedicated asphalt are better for the environment, free up scarce city center, they concentrate disruption for pedestrians, they contribute to equity by offering reduced parking fees for service workers or locals or lower income residents. Local government and local policies decide if our city center is inclusive or exclusive. And our current crisis is a crisis of leadership. As Asheville has grown, we have failed to provide the infrastructure necessary for growth. We've allowed an anti-hotel, anti-tourist narrative blind us to our own complicity in ceding our downtown to visitors. The city staff has insulated itself. The City of Asheville non-emergency staff currently uses 15% of the taxpayer-provided parking spaces downtown. And we also pay for the city to lease a 24-space private lot for its employees. There is no member of city staff on a waiting list for a parking space. And no city staff are using the street spaces, which are not often available. City staff don't pay for parking. City staff can ride the bus for free. What if we turn those spaces over to downtown service workers and let the city try to run a business without parking?
Hi, my name is Jonathan Wainscott, and I'm glad that I'm not the most angry person at the podium tonight. One of the things I think that we should consider is, our current pit of despair until we know exactly what we're going to do with that and exactly how we're going to pay for it. It's sitting right there. It's a gravel lot, and I know that a lot of people have put in some effort recently to spruce that up a little bit, but currently we have this one problem, of course, is a small Band-Aid, considering how much parking that we need. I think that we need to look at all of our city properties and see how we can immediately start using them. And I would like to explore ways that we could perhaps incentivize people who have private lots that simply don't want people to park on their lot after dark, that kind of thing. If there's any kind of rebate on their water bill or something that we can do to incentivize the use of that space, I think that would be some things that we could do in the short term while we eventually figure out what we can do to alleviate these problems.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do I have questions, comments, or a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the wording amendment, adding standards for temporary parking lots in the CBD, and find that the request is reasonable, is in the public interest, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans in the following ways. 1, modifies development standards to support a changing local economy, and 2, supports the creation of necessary parking infrastructure in the downtown.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I just have a thought on the issue of parking. I know the county is about to finish up a 600 space plus parking deck on Cox Avenue, and I know there's some question about whether any of those spaces will be available on nights and weekends for the public to use. So I don't know if staff could follow up with the county and find out what their plans are, if we can get an update.
That was part of the conditional zoning, yes.
My understanding was that that was still an unknown, that they would look at it, but they weren't definitively saying whether or not they were going to be available on nights and weekends.
Let's definitely relook at that and make sure we got it right.
Okay.
Where's the TDA on building that one down there? They were talking about coming in on some parking garage.
I don't know, and Julie's not here tonight to give us a report as the liaison, so I don't know. Maybe we can find out some information about that as well.
Okay.
Appreciate everyone who came out tonight for that item.